This is a video of my Cannondale Quick 5 hybrid. I bought it in 2015. This is a review of ownership after 1 year. I want to also demonstrate that I do have a history of cycling. So I want to just show you my first expensive bike that I used to ride daily. That is a Trek Y3 frame. I bought it in the late 90s. It's seen better days. I've made some changes to the bike. Originally it was a dirt bike. I put on the smoother tires, changed the crank and rear cassette. The chain popped. I wore teeth off the cassette and the crank is worn. I'm going to put it back on the road one day, but I have other things that are more pressing than to fix the bike. And also it's kind of expensive to change, to get that bike fixed. And one thing I'm realizing now that I am the originator of the hybrid. Because if you look at that setup, that's a hybrid. Smooth tires that have some tread. The handlebars, seat. So back to the Cannondale. I'm very disappointed in the ownership of this bike so far. I've had a lot of maintenance and repair issues. If you notice, the first repair was the rear cassette. The chain stretched and had to also be replaced, and the rear rim. I've only owned the bike for a year. I think that is very excessive. I do ride the bike, but to spend so much money for a Cannondale, I'm doing the finger quotations, and then to need so many repairs that are in the hundreds, I'm very disappointed. Also, what I noticed after a year of ownership, the tires are dry rotted. I've also changed the seat. I'll get into that a little later. But first, I'll come in close on the cassette. That is not the original cassette. The original cassette is the same color as the crank, and you can see that it is, I guess, like a metal chrome color. It's a little dirty now, but that's not the original cassette. Also, you can see the difference in the rim. I had to replace the rim. The original rims have these little grooves in them. I guess they are to help with dirt and debris that builds up on the rim. But so far I'm not impressed. Also, you can see, I don't know if the camera will focus, there's some dry rotting in the tire. All around the tread here. You can see it. Sorry. Probably over here. If I had probably put some powder on the rim, it'll be easier to see. In the rear, outside the cassette, you notice that the rim doesn't have that groove like the front rim. That's because this is a new rim. The other rim, it kept becoming untrue, and then finally spokes began to pop, so they said I needed a stronger rim. Now you can probably see the splits in the tire here. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. And you can see the name on the rim is different. The front rim says Cannondale. Let's go back to the front rim where it says Cannondale over here in the front. Okay. The front tire, which actually was the rear tire, rotated the tires. You can see that I feel that it wore kind of quickly. Here's the rear tire. I just cut the grass. I haven't had any problems with the frame. There's no problems with the paint. I'm going to talk about some of the modifications that I made. I've changed the hand grips. The gel is very soft. The original grips didn't have a problem, but they didn't have this gel. I'm all about comfort. With the seat, the original seat is just fine, no complaints. But long rides, when I ride over 30 miles, oh my God, the pain. I can't even describe it. I have 3 water bottles. That's the stock one. I added the 2 in the rear. That's a light, because I do ride at night sometimes. It gets hot during the day in the summer. The light I added in the front, and the speedometer. I've had no problems with the shifters. I've had, I guess, no problems with the front crank. The brakes, you know, when you read the review on this bike, they talk about how the brakes are not really up to par. Let me sum that all up for you. The brakes on this bike are horrible. In one word, horrible. I can say that I'm very, very disappointed in Cannondale. And to summarize all that I'm saying, I've had to replace the rim, the rear cassette, and the chain. When the rear rim became untrue, I ended up changing also the pads. So far, between the maintenance and the repairs that are done by the dealer, I've spent close to $250. Very disappointing. The reason why I bought a Cannondale is because years ago, in the 80s, I used to be a bicycle messenger. And all the, I don't know if the guys paid the dispatchers or what, but all the high-end guys, they all had Cannondales. So I guess you could say it was a boyhood dream of mine to own a Cannondale. And finally, the dream has turned into a nightmare. If you were to ask me if I can recommend this bike, even for a modest rider. Now, I ride somewhere between 70 to 100 miles a week. You know, sometimes less, sometimes more. That's an average. And on the bike, I would say I have over 1,000 miles. But to change the crank and the chain before I change the tires, I think that is ridiculous. Also, where I live, it's very hilly, you know, so I really don't know if that would have an effect on the cassette wearing, what I feel is premature, and the chain. So if I was to advise someone, even if you were to use this bike moderately, just because the tires dry rotted within 1 year, I have to put the thumbs down. Shimano parts, in my opinion, are poor quality, and you know, Cannondale should be ashamed of themselves of putting on Shimano parts that are cheaply made on such an expensive bike. You know, this bike with the Durella cost between, with the speedometer, with the tax, cost between $600 and $700. I don't remember the exact price. And I feel that that is very, you know, I don't disagree with the price of the bike, but I am disappointed in the repairs and the maintenance expenses that I've run into. So that's pretty much it. You know, I give the Cannondale Quick 5 thumbs down. And also, I would like to say, I noticed that people post a lot of videos about bikes they purchase, and then you never hear anything after that. You know, I hope this video encouraged you to ride your bike, get in shape if you need to get in shape, and help inform people about the purchases that you make. Because if someone said that the Cannondale Quick 5 isn't a good bike, then I might have chose a Trek instead. I should have stuck with the Trek brand. Oh well, I'll learn next time. Thanks for your comments and your views.